You work hard, you show up every day, you put in the hours, and yet, at the end of the month, your bank account looks like it's been robbed. No matter how much you earn, it disappears like smoke. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why that happens? Because the truth is brutal, and no one is telling you this. You're still broke, not because you don't work hard enough, not because you don't make enough money, but because you've been lied to. Lied to by your teachers. Lied to by your government. Lied to by the very system you were told would protect you. Robert Kiyosaki didn't write Rich Dad Poor Dad to make people feel good. He wrote it to wake people up. And if you're still broke, it's probably because you're playing by rules designed to keep you broke. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why most people stay poor, no matter how many hours they work. We're going to uncover the real reason the middle class is getting crushed. We'll show you the traps hidden inside your paycheck, your savings account, and your so-called safe investments. And most importantly, we'll show you how the rich play a different game, a game you were never taught. This isn't theory. This is what Robert Kiyosaki lives. And if you're willing to think differently, this might just be the video that changes everything for you. So let's start with a question. What if the problem isn't how much money you make, but what you believe about money itself? Go to school, get a job, save money, buy a house, work hard, retire at 60. You've heard that your entire life, from teachers, from parents, from TV shows and college counselors. It's the script society handed you at birth, and most people follow it to the letter without ever stopping to ask if it actually works. But here's the truth. That formula wasn't designed to make you rich. It was designed to keep you obedient, to keep you in line, to make sure you keep trading your time for just enough money to survive, never enough to escape. Think about it. You spend 12 to 16 years in school, memorizing facts but never learning how money actually works. You graduate, get a job, and start paying taxes immediately, before you even know how to legally avoid them. Then you're told to save your money in a bank, where inflation eats it alive and interest rates don't even keep up with the cost of a gallon of milk. That's not wealth. That's a treadmill. Robert Kiyosaki had two dads, one poor, one rich. His poor dad, the highly educated one, followed the traditional plan: job, pension, savings. His rich dad? He played a different game entirely. He didn't work for money. He made money work for him. And one day, he looked Robert in the eye and said something that shattered the illusion forever. Savers are losers. That was the moment everything changed. Because in a world where governments print money out of thin air and banks loan your savings out 10 times over, what are you really saving? The old system doesn't work anymore. In fact, it never really did. It just kept people in check, while the wealthy built assets, collected cash flow, and used strategic debt to grow their empires. So the next time someone tells you to just work hard and save, ask yourself, are they rich? If not, maybe it's time to stop listening. Your parents told you to work hard. Your teachers said the same. Society glorifies hustle culture like it's the secret to success. But here's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. Hard work alone doesn't make you rich. If it did, construction workers would be billionaires. Nurses pulling 16-hour shifts would own islands. The janitor, who's never taken a sick day in 20 years, would be living in a mansion. But they're not. They're stressed, they're tired, they're in debt. Most people work harder and harder every year, and yet they feel like they're falling further behind. Why? Because they're trapped in a game where the rules are rigged against them. You trade your time for a paycheck. You pay taxes, you cover your bills, and if anything's left, you try to save it. But inflation eats it. Life drains it. And then you're back to zero, hoping next month will be better. Robert Kiyosaki learned early on that working hard is admirable, but it's not the path to wealth. The poor and middle class trade time for money. The rich trade ideas for assets. The rich build systems, products, businesses, properties, things that generate income whether they're awake, asleep, or on vacation. That's the game. And if you don't know it, you'll lose without ever understanding why. It's not about how many hours you grind. It's about how much value you create when you're not grinding. Because time is the one thing you can't scale. Everyone has 24 hours in a day. But if your income depends on you being physically present to earn it, you're capped, you're stuck, you're replaceable. Working hard makes you tired. Building assets makes you free. Until you understand that difference, you'll keep sprinting in circles, wondering why the finish line never comes. It's not your work ethic that's broken. It's the system you were told to believe in. Your salary feels like safety. It shows up every 2 weeks, like clockwork, and for a moment, everything feels okay. The bills get paid. The lights stay on. You might even treat yourself to something small, just to feel like you're finally getting ahead. But by the end of the month, it's all gone, and you're counting down the days until the next direct deposit. That isn't freedom. That's dependency dressed as stability. Robert Kiyosaki calls it the salary trap. The paycheck is not a reward, it's a leash. And the tighter you hold on to it, the more control it has over your life. You don't realize it at first. The routine feels normal. Everyone around you is doing the same thing. But that's exactly the problem. You earn, you spend, you repeat, and you convince yourself you're okay because you're getting by. That's the rat race, and it doesn't end until you stop running in circles. The illusion of a steady paycheck is one of the most dangerous traps ever created. It gives you just enough to feel secure, but never enough to escape. You don't build wealth on a salary. You survive on it. And survival is not the same as success. Your job might cover your expenses, but it rarely gives you the resources, or the mindset, to build real financial independence. In fact, the higher your salary climbs, the more your lifestyle inflates to match it. A nicer car, a bigger mortgage, a fancier watch. Suddenly, you're not free. You're more trapped than ever, because now you need that paycheck. You can't afford to lose it. The rich don't rely on salaries. They rely on assets, on systems, on cash flow. They don't chase security. They build leverage. And that's the shift most people never make, because the system trained them not to. A salary might keep you fed, but it won't set you free. Robert Kiyosaki once said, "The rich buy assets. The poor and middle class buy liabilities thinking they're assets." That one sentence flips everything you think you know about money on its head. Because most people think they're being smart. They buy a house, they finance a new car, they upgrade their lifestyle, and they call it success. But what they're really doing is burying themselves in liabilities, expenses that take money out of their pocket every single month. Your house? It's not an asset unless it's paying you. Your car? It's losing value the moment you drive it off the lot. And yet, people work their entire lives to afford these things, believing they're building wealth when they're actually building a trap. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. That's the rule. It's simple, but no one teaches it in school, and that's why so many people are stuck. Kiyosaki learned this lesson not in a classroom, but from his rich dad, his best friend's father, who didn't have a college degree, but understood money in a way most Ivy League grads never will. When the 2008 market crashed, most people panicked. Kiyosaki didn't. He borrowed $300 million in debt, yes, borrowed, to buy real estate all over the American Southwest. People thought he was crazy, but while others were running from debt, he was using it like a weapon. The properties he bought generated cash flow. They paid him every month. And the debt he used to buy them, it came with tax breaks, strategic leverage, financial power. That's the difference. The poor buy liabilities and call it wealth. The rich buy assets and call it freedom. If you want to escape the rat race, stop trying to look rich. Start building things that make you rich. Until you learn to spot the difference between what pays you and what drains you, you'll stay exactly where you are. Buried in liabilities, calling them dreams. For decades, you've been told the safest thing you can do is save your money. Put it in the bank. Let it sit. Let it grow. But here's what they didn't tell you. that advice used to work in a world that no longer exists. Today, saving money is financial suicide. Not because you're lazy, not because you're irresponsible, but because the system is designed to punish savers. The dollars you put away are not just sitting there, they're rotting. Every single day, inflation eats away at the value of your savings. $1 saved in 1990 is worth about 30 cents in real purchasing power today, and it's getting worse. While your bank pays you 1% in interest, maybe, prices are rising by 6%, 8%, even 10%, depending on where you live. You're not saving, you're losing. And here's the kicker. The bank is using your savings to get rich. Fractional reserve banking means that when you deposit $1, the bank can lend out $10. That's not a conspiracy, that's policy. They take your hard-earned savings, multiply it, loan it out, charge interest on it, and keep the profits. Then they turn around and pay you almost nothing in return. And the worst part? They still tax you on that microscopic interest. Robert Kiyosaki said it best. Savers are losers. Not because they're dumb, but because they're playing by rules written for someone else's benefit. The system needs you to save, so it can lend and tax your money 10 times over. You were taught to be the fuel in someone else's engine. While you're carefully budgeting and stashing away dollars, the wealthy are borrowing money to buy assets that generate cash flow, and they're doing it all tax-free. So, no, saving money isn't safe. It's slow-motion theft. It's trusting a system that prints money out of thin air and tells you to hold on to it while it melts in your hands. Want to get ahead? Stop saving like a victim and start investing like an owner. Debt. That one word strikes fear into the hearts of the middle class. For most people, debt is a curse, a chain around the ankle, a sign of failure. But for the rich, debt is a weapon. It's a secret tool. It's the elevator they ride to the top while everyone else is stuck climbing stairs with cash. Robert Kiyosaki doesn't just tolerate debt, he lives in it. I'm a billionaire in debt, he says, and that's exactly why I pay less taxes than you. Sounds crazy, right? That's because you were taught to fear debt, to see it as dangerous. But the truth is, it's not debt that's dangerous. It's ignorance about how to use it. See, the poor use debt to buy things that lose value. They finance cars, furniture, vacations. The rich use debt to buy things that produce value. Apartment buildings, businesses, oil wells, gold mines. They borrow money not to consume, but to create. And when done right, that borrowed money becomes tax-free wealth. Here's what most people don't know. You don't pay taxes on borrowed money. If you own a property that appreciates in value, you don't sell it. You borrow against it. You take out a loan, pull out the equity, and guess what? No taxes. Because debt isn't income. It's leverage. And that leverage lets the rich grow empires without giving half of it to the IRS. Meanwhile, the average person is told to live debt-free. They pay off their house early, proudly burn their mortgage papers, and wonder why they still feel broke. The rich? They're refinancing that same house, pulling out equity, and using it to buy another asset, one that pays them monthly and shelters their taxes. Debt isn't evil, it's a tool. The question is, are you using it to dig a hole or build a ladder? The middle class works for money. The rich borrow it and make it work for them. If you went to school expecting to learn how to build wealth, no wonder you're disappointed. Schools don't teach you how to get rich. They teach you how to obey, how to follow orders, how to sit still, memorize, pass tests, and then graduate into a life of trading time for money. Robert Kiyosaki figured this out early. His poor dad was a highly educated man. PhD, head of education, respected in the community. But financially, broke. Why? Because he followed the system. The very system that was designed to create employees, not entrepreneurs. Workers, not owners. Followers, not thinkers. The traditional school system was built during the industrial age, when factories needed compliant workers, people who would show up on time, follow instructions, and never question authority. And even now, decades later, the classroom still mirrors the assembly line. Bells, rows, standardized tests. It's not education, it's conditioning. And behind the curtain, a deeper influence most people never even notice. Marxist ideology, centralized control, dependence on government systems, the glorification of jobs, pensions, and equality of outcome. The very things that keep people from ever realizing they could be free if they just learned how money actually works. That's why they don't teach you about assets or cash flow. That's why there are no classes on taxes, debt, real estate, or entrepreneurship. Because if you knew, you'd stop showing up. You'd stop depending. You'd stop trading your life for a paycheck and start building a life that doesn't need one. Real financial education doesn't begin in school. It begins the moment you start questioning what you were taught. It begins when you realize your A-plus report card doesn't pay your bills and your degree didn't teach you how to build wealth. It begins when you understand that rich people don't play by the rules they teach the rest of us. The education system was never designed to make you rich. It was designed to make you obedient. The most dangerous words in the personal finance aren't "I'm broke," they're "I can't afford it." That single phrase has kept more people poor than any economic crash or government policy ever could. Because it doesn't just reflect your wallet, it shapes your mindset. And once your mind believes something is impossible, it stops looking for ways to make it happen. Robert Kiyosaki heard this phrase constantly growing up, from his poor dad. Every time something seemed too expensive or too risky, his poor dad shut the door with those 5 words. I can't afford it. But his rich dad? He never said that. He asked a better question. How can I afford it? And that tiny shift changed everything. When you say, I can't, your brain shuts down. It gives up. But when you ask, how can I? Your brain turns on. It gets creative. It searches for solutions, opportunities, partnerships. It activates the entrepreneur inside you, the part of you that believes there is a way, even if you don't see it yet. The truth is, most people don't even try to afford the things that would change their lives. Not because they're lazy, but because they were trained to think small, to play it safe, to avoid mistakes. They were never taught that money is a tool, not a limit. They were never taught that their mindset is the first and most powerful investment they'll ever make. The rich aren't born with better resources. They're born, or trained, with better questions. They look at the same challenge and instead of retreating, they advance. They find a way. They build a bridge. They invest in knowledge, relationships, assets, and skills, not because they can afford it now, but because they know they can't afford not to. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I can't afford it, stop. Flip the script. Ask, how can I? And then watch how fast your mind starts finding a way. The difference between wealth and struggle often begins with a question, not in your bank account, but in your beliefs. Most people think getting rich means saving money or working their way up the ladder. But Robert Kiyosaki teaches something completely different. Real wealth comes from cash flow, not one-time paychecks, not lottery wins, not flashy stock picks. Cash flow, the kind of money that shows up month after month, whether you get out of bed or not. So, what does real cash flow look like? It's the rent check that arrives from a tenant living in a property you own. It's the royalty payment from a book, a song, or an online course you created once but that keeps paying you. It's the profit from a business system that runs even when you're on vacation. Cash flow is money that doesn't need your daily labor. It flows to you, not from you. Kiyosaki didn't learn this in a boardroom. He learned it playing Monopoly with his rich dad. Hour after hour, game after game, he mastered one simple formula. 4 green houses, 1 red hotel. That was the lesson. Stack small assets. Then consolidate. Scale. Multiply. Cash flow isn't about luck, it's about strategy. The rich don't chase pay raises. They build pipelines. Streams of income that flow no matter what happens to the economy, the job market, or their schedule. They don't work for money. They engineer systems that make money work for them. And here's the part no one tells you. You don't need to be rich to start building cash flow. You just need to start thinking like the rich. Start where you are. Maybe it's a small rental. Maybe it's a digital product. Maybe it's a side hustle you can turn into a system. The point is, you begin. You plant the seed, and over time it grows into a tree that bears fruit every single month. Because when your income isn't tied to your time, that's when freedom begins. That's when you stop surviving and start living on your terms. Look around you. Everywhere you go, you're being trained to consume. Buy the latest phone. Finance the shiny car. Subscribe to another streaming service. You're constantly being told you deserve it. But what they're really saying is, keep spending, keep working, keep chasing. Because the more you consume, the more trapped you become. And Robert Kiyosaki teaches the opposite. Stop being a consumer. Start being a creator. It's not about depriving yourself, it's about freeing yourself. Every dollar you spend on toys, trends, and temporary highs is a dollar you didn't use to build something that could have paid you back for the rest of your life. That's the difference between living rich and living broke with nice stuff. The rich don't waste their money trying to look successful. They use it to create success. They create assets, real estate, businesses, intellectual property, systems. Things that generate income long after the work is done. They buy freedom instead of clutter, leverage instead of lifestyle. And it all starts with a shift. Not in your wallet, but in your mindset. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. That's not a slogan, it's a strategy. It's the realization that your time is limited, but your ideas are not. Your labor has a ceiling, but your assets don't. When you shift from asking, "What can I buy with this money?" to "What can I build with it?" your entire life begins to change. You don't need millions to start. You just need the courage to stop consuming and start creating. Write the book, launch the side hustle, buy the first rental, design the digital product, plant the seed, build the system, let it grow. Because every time you spend money, you're either buying someone else's dream or funding your own. And freedom doesn't come from what you own, it comes from what you create. If you've made it this far, you already know the truth. The reason you're still broke has nothing to do with how smart you are, how hard you work, or how much you earn. It has everything to do with what you were taught to believe about money. You were trained to be a consumer, to trade time for paychecks, to save dying dollars in a system designed to drain them. But now you see the game for what it is. Robert Kiyosaki didn't get rich by playing along. He got rich by playing different. He bought assets instead of toys. He used debt as a tool, not a trap. He didn't ask for permission, he asked better questions. And now it's your move. You can keep chasing a salary and calling it security. Or you can step off the hamster wheel and start building real wealth. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be perfect. But you do have to start. So here's your challenge. From this day forward, stop saying, "I can't afford it." Start asking, "How can I make this work?" Think like a rich person, even before you have the riches, because wealth is built in the mind long before it shows up in the bank account. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone else who's ready to break free. And if you're serious about getting out of the rat race for good, subscribe. This is just the beginning. You were never meant to just work and pay bills. You were meant to be free. Let's go build it.